Operant conditioning, sometimes referred to as instrumental conditioning, is a method of learning that employs rewards and punishments for behavior. Through operant conditioning, an association is made between a behavior and a consequence, whether positive or negative, for that behavior. Reinforcement and punishment are the two major categories of consequences in operant conditioning. In this video, I'm going to describe both positive and negative punishment, some of the potential problems with these, and how each should be implemented. Positive punishment, sometimes referred to as punishment by application, presents an unfavorable event or outcome in order to weaken the response it follows. Being reprimanded or lectured is an example of positive punishment. Certainly, neither of these are positive experiences, but it's because something unpleasant is added that this is called positive. Negative punishment, also known as punishment by removal, occurs when a favorable event or outcome is removed after a behavior occurs. Taking away a child's video game following a misbehavior is an example of negative punishment. In this example here, the driver has been stopped for speeding and has received a speeding ticket. The speeding ticket will result in fines that she will have to pay. This means that something that is positive, money, will be removed. We would say that this is negative reinforcement then because something pleasant is removed, and this will likely result in a decrease in the behavior of speeding in the future, at least in the short term. In this example that we see here, committing a crime that results in incarceration, the person has been incarcerated for a crime, and this is considered a form of negative punishment because something that is favorable, freedom, is removed with the intent of decreasing the behavior. Of course, many of you know that even though the intent is to decrease behavior, often incarceration by itself does not result in a change in the behavior. And this is why we've seen many states implement rehabilitation programs and other types of programs that have the intent of addressing the underlying issues contributing to the undesirable behavior that may have led to incarceration. Positive punishment involves the presentation of something unfavorable after the behavior. An example might include a partner nagging another partner when they're upset about them having done something or not done something. Other examples can include being embarrassed or yelled at. So all of those sound pretty awful. And while we may, on the surface, think about punishment as a useful intervention because we think no one wants to experience these things, there are some inherent problems associated with the use of punishment. First, punishment can lead to anxiety. It can also lead to avoidance and dishonesty. For example, if a parent is frequently using punishment, the child may become anxious around the parent. Ironically, the parent wants the child to learn, but anxiety and learning do not go hand in hand. And since punishment only tells the individual what not to do, they're not learning what is desired. Therefore, it's important that reinforcement is used with punishment as often as possible. Also, because punishment is an aversive experience, it can lead to dishonesty. In the case of parents who want their children to be able to be open with them, using punishment in ways that are fair, respectful, and not shaming are important things to keep in mind. When punishment is used often, and especially when it creates feelings of shame, children may avoid coming to the parent when they're having problems, which can lead to even bigger challenges for the child and parent in the longer term. Punishment can also be misused. Sometimes a parent may find that a punishment is not effective and may then conclude that a more severe punishment would be more effective. As you can imagine, this can then escalate into punishments that are unreasonable at best, or at worst, punishments that may be very aversive and even considered abusive towards the other individual. It's also critical, therefore, that punishment be ethical. It needs to be used minimally. So, in other words, it should only be used when it is absolutely necessary. And it needs to be paired with reinforcement. Punishment should also be immediate. That way, there is a connection being made between the negative consequence and the behavior that's not desired. The punishment also needs to be consistent. When there's a lack of consistency, the individual may conclude that this particular time that they're engaging in the undesired behavior, they may not be punished and it may be worth the risk. So, there are clearly some very important things for an individual to keep in mind if they're going to use punishment. Ideally, we want to maximize the use of reinforcement and minimize the use of punishment. Reinforcement tells the learner what to do, and that's ultimately what we are wanting the learner to do. It's also associated with much more positive feelings and a much more positive dynamic between the learner and the individual who is trying to teach the learner. For more insights like these, for more information about operant conditioning and other theories of learning, watch future videos on my channel, Psychology Lab.